Well, I had to spend 2 days basically cheating on my Xbox and my PC to have a monogamous relationship with my PlayStation 4 to see if all the hype around this game was going to be worth it. Let's talk about this. Hey, if you're new to this channel, please think about giving that red subscribe button a click. We do new and early access game reviews as well as tech reviews and pretty much anything nerd related on a regular basis. Thanks. Hey everybody, what's going on? Brandon here. I'm going to go ahead and start this video off by saying there may be minor spoilers ahead. I'm going to try my hardest to make sure I don't spoil anything, but just in case something slips in the video, or maybe I say something, or you see something in the gameplay footage, there may be spoilers ahead. So if you want to make sure 100% that you don't get any spoilers for this game whatsoever, just to be safe, go ahead and stop the video, go play the game, I highly recommend it, and then come back and watch the video. Okay, let's get started. Now, when I started playing this game, I went into this game thinking it was going to be like all the other Spider-Mans, and in a way it was, minus some of the amazingly bad elements of those games like this.
Help! Please! Someone! I'm going to die!
And the fact that in the original Spider-Man 1, the movie game, you could just swing through the cities without actually having your web attached to things. Then they moved on to the Spider-Man 2, the movie game, where you actually had to connect your web to the buildings. But there were a lot of load instances due to how big the map was and the size. Then eventually we got the Ultimate Spider-Man game, which came out on GameCube and PlayStation 2, which was a great game. I think that is probably the closest game you're going to get to this one when it comes to a game that draws you in and hooks you. Now, the big difference there with the Ultimate Spider-Man game was you did eventually get to play the game as Venom. Once you got all the way through it, you could play the game as Venom, and it played a lot more like Grand Theft Auto, where you had, you know, a star system for how you wanted you were, and you had to outrun the police and stuff. It was a lot like Grand Theft Auto, but it was a lot of fun, and that's something I hope they implement with this eventually, maybe different characters. So you do get to meet Miles Morales in this game, so hopefully that is something that they carries over into some future DLC. I think I would be more than happy to pay $10 to $20 for some DLC that lets you continue on with Miles Morales' story, but that's beside the point. So basically, what this game does really well is it took what the other games did good and they did them better. They took all the good aspects of all the past Spider-Man games, it redid them, it did them better, and it unfolded into a great game. But one of the greatest attributes that made this game really stick with me has been the story. The way they tell the story in this is almost as if the writers from Marvel's Netflix series, especially Daredevil Season 1, were the ones that were behind this. The way it plays out over a long period of time, and I mean a long period of time. The story in this game is long. It takes a long time to get through it, but it does it really well. It never leaves you wondering, God, am I going to get through this anytime soon? This is dragging. It keeps a perfect pace throughout the entire game. Really, the only slow times that kind of drag are times when you have to play as a character like Miles Morales or Mary Jane, when you're having to do more sneaking around and stealth missions more than you are being able to be Spider-Man and swing it around. So that's the only time the pace kind of slows down in the story. But it doesn't do it to the point where it's obnoxious. It does it just enough to give you a little bit of a break from a lot of the activities that are going on, a lot of being, you know, punching your way through bad guys and fighting. It gives you something a little bit more calming to do, and it doesn't do it so much to the point where you're just ready to pass through the time and, God, hurry, can I skip this? I want to get back to being Spider-Man. It does it really well, and it allows you to play through a lot of the different characters, and characters are really what make this game work. Because this really is a character-driven story, and it's not just Spider-Man. It's not just punch him and beat him up all the time. Now, the game is very exciting, and it does pull you in, but it doesn't do it to the point where all you're doing is fighting, all you're doing is beating up bad guys and swinging through the city and completing missions. It's not like that. The story pulls you in just as much as the gameplay does, and that is what's awesome about this, because they've done a lot of things with characters they've never really done, not only in Spider-Man medium in the past with movies and games, but just in general with a lot of stories. With Miles Morales, you get to play as him, you get to understand why he is the way he is, who he is to Peter Parker and Aunt May and Mary Jane, how he becomes involved with Spider-Man. You get to learn his history, you get to feel for this character, and you get to want to learn more about this character and how he develops. And Mary Jane also. Mary Jane, the way they handled her in this game is something that no other Spider-Man medium has done before, and they did it really well. She wasn't just a damsel in distress. She wasn't somebody that Peter had to save all the time. She was a character, and you understood her side of things, and you got to want to learn more about her as a character in this world and in this game. And honestly, the way they handled Mary Jane was awesome. She was a fun character. She was an interesting character. It didn't feel like they were just shoehorning in feminism to do it. It felt like they were showing you that this is a woman who is strong. She's independent. But, you know, occasionally she does need help from Spider-Man, but Spider-Man needs her help just as much as she needs his sometimes. Because the damsel in distress thing does get old really fast. I mean, it worked with older games back in the past that weren't really story-driven so much as they were just get in, beat 'em up, very linear stories just to get you through the game and win. But when you're trying to tell a story in a movie or a game and you're really wanting to be in depth, you can't just pass it off as, okay, well, she's in trouble, you gotta save her. I mean, even in this game, when you did have to save Mary Jane, it actually pans back and lets you know what happened, how did she get to this point, what was going on, and you get to see that she is independent. You get to play as her and understand that, okay, well, this is how she got in that situation. It wasn't just a simple, oh, help me, Spider-Man moment, which was awesome. Another thing that sets this game apart from a lot of other games is how much attention to detail the developers paid, and it's the small details you wouldn't even think about, but it actually does set it up over the top. One thing, for example, is they actually had the voice actors record the lines twice. They had them record them regularly, and then they had them record the lines as if they were strained or exerted. That way, if, say, you're on a phone call while you're swinging through the city as Spider-Man, and you swing at the right time as you're saying a word, the word will come out exerted, as if, you know, you can tell he's swinging at that time, or he's punching at that time, which is one thing that never really made sense to me in the older Spider-Man games, is you would take a phone call as you're beating up bad guys, and you're talking like everything is just fine. In this game, he'll still take the call and he'll still talk, but you can tell that he's doing something and he's active. And it's those little tiny details that they made sure to focus on that take the gameplay over the top as well as the story. All in all, this game exceeded my expectations in every way possible. I've played all the Spider-Man games leading up to this, all of them, and they were all fun. I really enjoyed them all, but they all at most had 6-7 hours worth of playtime and then you were done. Except for maybe Ultimate Spider-Man. I think it had a little bit more. But yeah, so I went into this game feeling like it was probably going to be just like the older Spider-Man games, and it was, to the point where I could pick it up and easily know what I was doing because I've played all the older Spider-Man games. But they took everything that the older Spider-Man games did good and did it so much better that I'm blown away by this game. As most of you know, or some of you might know, I'm not really a PlayStation fan. I do reviews on some PlayStation games occasionally, but my PlayStation usually is pretty dusty. I usually have to dust it off. I don't have a PS4 Pro. I don't ever plan on buying a PS4 Pro just because I'm not a real big fan of Sony. I've got my PlayStation 4 so I could do reviews on games, but other than that, I don't really play it all that often. And this was a game that it blew me away to the point where I had to get this game and I had to play it. And I had to keep playing it, and I've never been that way with very many games. There's been a few games that I get sucked into and I play non-stop, and I don't want to put the controller down. The last game that really did that for me was We Happy Few, but even it got to a point where somewhere through the story it slowed to a crawl, and you kind of wanted to skip through a little bit or put the controller down and take a break. Spider-Man didn't really do that. I didn't ever feel like, oh man, I want to put the controller down. And it continues on the story so well when you're going from point A to point B, completing missions, that there's not really any break to the point where you can just set the controller down and want to walk away. You want to go, okay, well, I'll finish this mission, and then after this mission, I'll be in a good spot, and then you'll finish that mission and realize there's something else that you need to do, and you'll want to go do that. Or you realize, oh, I only need this much to craft this suit. I really want to make this suit. I'll go do these missions and I'll put the controller down, and you end up playing for hours and not even realizing it. Now, when it comes to mediums, you know, video game movie adaptations almost never work because movies can never really take all the story out of a game and put it into a film. The same thing would apply here. If they tried to make a movie out of this, it wouldn't really work. Now, if it was a series, it would probably work, and that's why I said I compared this to the Netflix Marvel series, because the story on this is long and it's drawn out, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot of character development that goes on in the entire game. I mean, Dr. Otto Octavius' character development is to me, one of the key points in this game that really pulls you in. And learning about his relationship with Peter Parker is just, it's awesome. It's a really fun time. The way they handle the storytelling in this game is amazing. The only other medium that could do this right would be a television series, and it would have to be like at least 12 episodes, an hour long each. I mean, it would take a long time to get this story told. But I don't think they need to. I don't think this would need to be a series. I don't think it would need to be a movie. I think video games are a special way to tell stories, and I think a lot of video games lately have not been taking advantage of that. But Insomniac, when they made this game, they took full advantage of being able to tell an amazing story that could only be told this way. The only way this story is going to be able to be told and feel the way it feels and, you know, resonate the way it does is by telling it through this game. And in my honest opinion, this is not only one of the best stories I've ever been able to read or play or watch, but it's one of the best games I've ever played. So, Insomniac, this game is by far my favorite game of the year. I mean, I thought Sea of Thieves was going to be my favorite game of the year. I still really like that game, and it's got a lot of playability. But when it comes down to it, this isn't just a great game. This is a great story. If this was a book, it'd be a great book. This game is the perfect medium, especially for a Spider-Man story. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry it took me a little while to get out, and sorry I haven't done any other reviews lately. Like I said, I spent 2 days straight playing this game to get this video done, and took Scum and a couple other reviews on the back burner for a little bit since this game just came out. Figured I'd go ahead and get this done first. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like this video and you want to see more, please click that subscribe button. If you want to know anytime me or Nathan upload videos, please click that bell icon, and I will see you guys next time.